Hey everyone, this is Ben with MeasureQuick, and today I'm going to have a conversation with Wes Davis from ACCA, discussing all these acronyms and standards that are kind of floating around right now. ACCA 310, VSP, VEO, ESVI, just so many things that aren't really that clear, but they really are going to make an impact on the industry moving forward. So, without further ado, let's start the conversation with Wes, and we're going to learn some really interesting things. So, stay tuned.
Hi, I'm Wes Davis. I'm the Director of Technical Services at ACCA, which is the Air Conditioning Contractors of America. It's a trade association, a national trade association. Our members install heating and cooling systems across the country. My part of this is to work on codes and standards, education development, and then contractor accreditation. And that's a new effort that's getting a little bit of a shift, Ben. We're moving just from recognizing contractors who have made a commitment to quality to identifying quality installations. So we want to recognize quality contractors and identify quality installations.
That's a big shift. And how are you guys going to make that shift?
Well, if I could tell just a little story. In 2009, the EPA came to us. They were revising their Energy Star Certified Homes program. And they came to ACCA and said, hey, you guys drafted this quality installation standard. We would like for you to be the gatekeeper and say, here's who can do quality work in our Energy Star homes. And we said no. We didn't have a way to see or have insight into every installation. I think Energy Star went shopping a little bit, but couldn't find anybody else to do it. But anyway, we did say, here's what we can do. And so we partnered up with RESNET and the raters in the field who are already a part of Energy Star certified homes. They were already looking at the building. We asked RESNET if the rater could look at the design, which is part of what they do with modeling anyway, and then a few non-invasive measurements to confirm some elements of the installation. And so that was the agreed upon tactic. ACCA was going to vet the contractor, make sure that they met certain minimum requirements, and then make sure that they also provide some oversight. So that's how we started out, but it was never really good enough. Energy Star wanted us to be more involved. And the problem was, Ben, if you were an accredited contractor, I don't know how many homes you've done, where you've done them. We had no insight to that. And there were some discussions about maybe trying to share some information with RESNET. It never panned out. And then, oddly enough, at a RESNET conference, I think it was 2018, I saw Jim Bergman. We had a conversation. He was telling me about this new whiz-bang thing he had ginned up, and I was excited. But it took us 5 years before we finally tied the knot and got the ball rolling. So here we are, ready to roll.
Well, it's a really big problem. And going back to trying to solve that problem, like why wouldn't self-reporting, like let's say being able to accept people's self-submitted either measurements or project files, like that didn't work?
So for a lot of people, it did. The problem was which ones? If there's no verification, there's no way to have that confidence that this is the contractor who is following the rules, doing the job right. And this other person is not. The same challenge we identified or knew going in when the EPA asked us to be the gatekeeper. And I think we are at a point now where we could become that gatekeeper. We're getting the ball rolling. I'm sure there's going to be some things that need to be improved along the way, and we want to make those improvements. But we need to get started. We need to thresh this thing out and make it work.
And I think it's going to take a village. And you guys, it's not just ACCA. You guys are compiling a village, which kind of gets to this. There's this big standard. It has the numbers 310, but before 310, I see a series of different abbreviations. And so that speaks to the village that you're putting together to be able to solve this problem. So let's jump into that. So what is 310 and who's involved in it?
So Standard 310, we had pushed RESNET, ACCA had pushed RESNET for some time to involve more of the HVAC system installation in the home's energy rating index. And so it was decided to create this new standard, Standard 310. There was a lot of work done in the sausage making process, that is standards development, to identify the elements that would be verified and then quantify the impact. And so that was the outcome of Standard 310 and RESNET, ACCA, and then we bolted on ICC. They're a good partner, especially good partner for helping promote and publish content to make it available online for free viewing. So that was a very good and useful tool. We want code officials to feel comfortable diving into Standard 310. So that was another reason to ask ICC to join the masthead.
That's amazing. And how does this all relate to HVAC contractors? Because a lot of my research has shown that a lot of HVAC contractors are so busy just trying to fight fires and also aren't in an environment where their work is being checked by anyone else. So like how is all of this going to trickle down to HVAC contractors, and how will this be successful?
So that's a good question, Ben. I think that the primary feedback for most contractors is the customer. If there's no complaint, if something doesn't fall through the ceiling or flood the basement or short circuit something or start a fire, or we'll stop there. But if there's if the customer doesn't complain, we must have done a good job. I hire pretty good techs, pretty good installers. These guys have been around the industry for years. They know what they're doing. Maybe I even followed up and looked at some of their work, and during the interview, the rigorous interview process in which I held up that mirror and said, here, can you fog this? And then, no, but there's not been a good feedback mechanism. And I think to your point or your question about how we're going to make this work, I think as a manager, as an HVAC professional, if you could have insight into every installation and more than just a checklist, did they fill out pressures or temperatures or static pressures and airflows and things like that? If there was a way to objectively capture that information and then assess it with all these multiple data points and knowledge about the equipment, and say, you know what, this equipment is operating as fine as it can be. It's performing as specified. Or it's not. We've got a problem here with refrigerant charge. We've got a problem with airflow, or we've got a problem with incoming voltage. I heard a horrible story of a contractor who's installing a new high-end piece of equipment, and customer feedback loop said it's not working. And when they got out there, the input voltage, it was like it was a rural installation. The distance from the transformer just wasn't getting enough incoming voltage. So I'm not always blaming the installer or the startup tech. Sometimes it is not their problem. But that feedback loop that says, hey, you haven't got enough incoming voltage or enough airflow or whatever the case may be, combustion efficiency, you need to adjust the manifold pressure. That kind of feedback is invaluable to HVAC professionals, people who want to do a better job. And I think that's the pathway. And I think once that feedback loop is in place, contractors will take pride in their work and they'll want customers to know about that. And I think once customers are educated and they know this isn't just like a refrigerator, guys come in, they've got to make some connections. It's a little bit more than just plugging it in the wall and walking away. They've got to do some brazing and make some transitions to the ductwork, but that's about it, right? I mean, there's nothing more complicated than that. And it is. And it starts at the beginning. There should be a design.
Should be.
Model the home, estimate the load, select the right equipment, size, and then the ductwork. And in an existing home, a lot of that work is already done. In a brand new home, that all has to be done. And that's one of the great things Energy Star has always promoted and touted, is ensuring that the design is done. They've got some slightly different tolerances than ACCA has with Manual S. We hopefully, with the new latest revision to Manual S, they will come more in line with national standards. It's still their program. They can do what they want, but we'd always like to see them do that. So I've rambled on there for a bit. Ben, I'll let you bring me back to
checklists. It's that's what came to my mind as you were kind of explaining it, is
right.
It is so important to have a checklist to make sure that everything is operating within the tolerances, within the thresholds that the system is designed for. And what I've observed in residential HVAC is that HVAC contractors are expected to basically be a plumber, an electrician, an airflow expert, a customer service expert, a sales expert. They're expected to be so many things. And so it's
engineer.
It's no wonder that we are not seeing the quality installations done according to how we want them to be done, because there's too much scope, right?
It's big. This job is not for sissies.
But that's also what technology is for. Technology is what allows us to operate like superhumans, right?
Absolutely. I completely agree. So understanding the math in Manual J is awesome, but it's more important to understand how to survey the home. What measurements do I need to take? What specifications or what information do I need to collect about that house to appropriately estimate its heating and cooling needs? You're right. It's using the technology. There's no need to do all those calculations by hand when you can enter some information in the computer and it'll give you the answer just like that.
Which that brings me
with MeasureQuick.
Yeah, they're perfect. That brings me to why the 310. I personally believe that 310 is a bit of a loaded question when I asked it, is that I think that this iteration of this type of standards approach might be successful this time around, or at least might have a larger impact, is because using MeasureQuick, you're going to be shaving off a large portion of complexity from the HVAC professionals, I guess, not responsibility, but from the things that they need to be monitoring in their heads. We now can give them a way to automate that whole checklist is taken care of. All the electrical measurements, the refrigerant measurements, the airflow measurements, they're done not just easily, but they're done in a repeatable way, so that every single time, as long as you deploy the probes and you do things, you have a person that's been trained on how to use this process with MeasureQuick, with these connected tools, then your risk of the process not being followed drops dramatically. That's where I see that, because it's become so easy, this actually might now have the impact that you want.
And Ben, this is as a side, in addition to Standard 310, there's also the ACCA 5 Quality Installation Standard, which was a precursor to Standard 310, and it's our current focus in our partnership with MeasureQuick is to identify ultimately systems that meet that quality installation standard. The trick is sometimes homeowners don't understand the value of having tight ducts, properly sized ducts, properly insulated ducts if they're in unconditioned space, or sometimes in certain climates, even in conditioned space. So to the extent that we can get the equipment working properly, combustion efficiency is dialed in, airflow, refrigerant charge, and the electrical measurements are dialed in. Mm-hmm. We want to recognize those contractors who at least get that much done and done right. And so we have ACCA quality installation certificates called Verified Equipment Operation, and that's the silver medal, if you will. And then if the proper design was done at the beginning, we've got the Manual J, the equipment selection meets the Manual S tolerance and then the equipment is installed correctly. And then on the back end, we've got duct tightness. We have measured and ensured that we've got the right airflow. And if we had to make modifications, if we enlarged the return so we could get the right airflow, or if we added a supply to a room that was a little hot or cold in certain seasons, we really need to balance that airflow. That is the coup de grace to a quality installation. And if we can get the right amount of air into the right places, then we have a much better chance of delivering the cut that customer wants. And that's what's really going to set those HVAC professionals apart from the also-rans.
And so that's what 310 is it's all the way from the design all the way through to the balancing. That's
the quality installation standard. The 310 has a lot of those elements. It stops just a little bit short. 310 is really aimed at new construction. We've got the design. Someone did model the home, but it's a little bit more than that. The standard requires that the home was, this sounds kind of backwards, but the home was built the way it was modeled. And it's really more about if we added that bonus room over the garage, or if we added that extra insulation package, or we got the super duper window package with this new home, was that modeled in the load? And if it was, great. If it wasn't, also great. How much did it change the load? Have we got a piece of equipment that's too small now? Because if we do, let's just change the equipment. It's not about, making sure we built a house the way it was planned and we're locked in. It's making sure that the plan represents, or the load represents how the home was actually built. So design and review, duct leakage testing, just a natural part of any Energy Star certified home. So that's a no-brainer, that's easy. And then airflow, CFM per watt evaluates the efficiency. So we've got the right airflow, but is that fan having to work extra hard to move enough air through the duct system? That, and then refrigerant charges, a non-invasive refrigerant charge test. And while I think the Raider is ideally suited for the duct leakage testing, I think the HVAC professional is better prepared, better suited for the design and confirmation it was built that way, airflow per watt, and then the refrigerant charge. They're the ones who are there. They've got the gauges already connected because they've already pressure tested the system, done a vacuum, and before the refrigerant charge is released, and then modified the charge based on weight or some other metric, and then tested it, commissioned the system.
So 2 questions for you is you said that they're better prepared, but first question is, are they incentivized? And or how are they incentivized? And then the second question is, are they missing anything? So they have their probes, but is there something else, another piece of equipment that they need? Because I've heard that there might be.
So incentivized, the builders who want to pursue Energy Star certified home certification want to hire credentialed contractors.
Okay.
And so I think there's some incentive there. The home building industry is a rather razor thin margin game. You do not go in there with a lot of fluff built into your estimate. So that's a specialized group of HVAC professionals that can deliver that and do the job well. Now, to the piece that might be missing, help me out, Ben. What are you thinking?
Oh, like a duct blaster or something like that? Because they have probes, like they're a MeasureQuick contractor. You got your sets of probes, and possibly even like a true flow grid.
Right. So that's a marriage that I really like. So if I'm a production builder, I'm gonna answer your question, Ben. I'm gonna go around the barn to get there.
Sounds good.
If I'm a production builder, I've probably hired an engineer or an HVAC design professional to say, here's a set of plans, give me the heat loss, heat gain, select the equipment, lay out the duct system. I'm going to go to another set of HVAC professionals who have streamlined their operations, have a process to install what was designed, and then theoretically start up and commission the system to meet the specs that were in the design. And in between or surrounding that is that Raider. So the Raider is ideal for that duct leakage testing, that duct blaster, to pressurize the ducts, make sure that they meet the minimum tolerances. But we've got HVAC professional, Raider with their duct blaster, and then HVAC professional with airflow and refrigerant charge, and CFM per watt.
And can the HVAC professional take on that?
Absolutely.
Duty?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. And then
do they need a special certification to be able to hook up a duct blaster and then complete those steps in the 310 workflow?
That's a good question. I'm going to say no. I do believe that Energy Star certified homes requires a Raider. So there is a certification, a RESNET or Building Science Institute credential that goes with that person who can evaluate duct leakage in a home, as well as myriad other evaluations that are all rolled into the energy rating index. But in an existing home, an HVAC, lots of HVAC professionals have duct blasters or airflow, duct pressurization test fans, so that they can evaluate what kind of system they're walking into.
Okay, that makes sense. Now, that was 310. That was the whole kind of new build thing. Now, what about the other, like 95% of the building stock that people are going to be working on every year? And that's what VEO is for? And
that's what
is
VEO,
5 and VEO the same thing?
No. So there's the verified system performance, and that is wrapped around the quality
VSP.
installation standard, VSP. And if you can't convince the customer, if they don't quite see the value yet in confirming that the whole system, from not just the equipment, but the duct system or the water piping, if it's a hydronic system, whatever the case may be, it's more than just the equipment, it's also the distribution system. If they don't see that value yet, then there's the verified equipment operation. So that we have, if it's a furnace, combustion efficiency requirements, and then for DX cooling and heating, airflow, refrigerant charge, electrical requirements.
Okay, so I'll just going to recap one time just to make sure that myself and everybody that might watch this understands. 310, new builds, and kind of like leave it over in that category. And then the
existing homes.
VSP, is QI 5? Is it no Q?
So the QI 5 is the basic, is the standard behind the 2 quality installation certificates.
So that's the standard. And then there's the 2 certs, and then VSP, verified system performance, is kind of like, that's the gold medal, where it's like, this is what you want you to achieve if the customer is willing to agree to it. It's a little bit more involved. But if they say, no, don't want that, then basically the silver medal is the VEO.
Correct.
Okay. And from what I understand is that VEO is something that is going to be available soon, or actually by the time that this is published, it will be available through MeasureQuick.
It's available now.
Woo!
We've got certificates rolling out the door. So there are contractors who are using this, and this probably gets into something you might want to ask me later. Let me just barge in now. Right now, MeasureQuick has a 5-qubit charge for a digital record, and that's the only charge related to either quality installation certificate, verified system performance, or VEO. It's just the 5-qubit record charge. In December, actually 1 January, we're going to change that because we think we have quite the case to take to HVAC professionals. And so we're going to charge a small fee for each certificate. In the past, you had to be an accredited contractor, and that was a one-time lump sum for your annual accreditation. We understand that these certificates will have value in the marketplace, but it might be a one-off. Maybe there's a program that requires something like Habitat for Humanity or Wounded Warrior or some other very noble, honorable charity program that requires quality installation. But to require a contractor to pay an annual subscription or an annual fee for a one-time installation so we want to open the doors wide. Anyone can issue a quality installation certificate.
Whoa.
If they're an ACCA member or a QA contractor, a quality assured contractor, the price comes down. But we do allow anyone to install it. And so after 1 January, if you're a ACCA member and an accredited contractor, you pay $30 per certificate. If you're just an ACCA member or just a QA contractor, it's $40 per certificate. And then everyone else, you're as welcome as an angel, and the certificates are $50.
Okay. And so to recap that again, is that we have right now through MeasureQuick, you can complete the VEO, or you can issue VEO certificates, and it is the price of a project in MeasureQuick, so that when you do the project in MeasureQuick, it is pretty much at no cost to be able to produce a certificate if you end up meeting the requirements and if the system performs at that level. Awesome.
Exactly.
A lot of good contractors are going to love that. Now, and then
hope.
January 1st, prices go up, but then individually they'll have to do a project in MeasureQuick, and then they would also pay the $50 per certificate if they're not a member, and if they're not a quality contractor or a QA or
quality assured contractor,
quality assured contractor, and then so then it's $40 if they are.
And that's baked in. So it's not 50 plus 5 qubits or 40 plus 5 qubits. It's just $50 or $40.
Perfect.
Or 30.
I just always love to talk that through to make sure that there's multiple perspectives so that we get to making it clear, hopefully as mud at the end. All right. So VEO available now. And then I know that our folks, our dev team has been working hard at 310 in MeasureQuick as well. And so that's still going to happen at some point in the future, but just it might be some time. We don't know when that'll be complete, but that's going to be
verified system performance
VSP.
That's the one when this airs should be either available or almost available.
Awesome.
And tied to the VSP, for some people, it helps, whether it's the HVAC professional or their customer, but some verified system performance installations will also qualify for an Energy Star verified installation.
Yes.
So we're very happy to promote Energy Star, the Energy Star brand, and we're hoping that that relationship continues.
Awesome. Well, Wes, this is very exciting. I'm not just that this is a new feature in MeasureQuick to go along with the 2.5 launch and the new workflows, but to actually try to fix some of the biggest problems plaguing the HVAC industry. The fact that there has been no accountability for contractors to be able to produce these supposed results for homeowners. So I think everybody's going to win here. It might be a little bit more work, but the amount of value that is produced from this will be just so substantial that I'm really looking forward to seeing the results of this out in the field. So thanks so much for your time, Wes, and looking forward to chatting again soon.
Great. Thanks, Ben.